Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Hilaal Live. Thanks for tuning in to our show. Thanks to Faraz and the team in Johannesburg for doing this quarter to 6 to 7 o'clock slot. During this hour, we focus on a very important milestone in our history, especially when it comes to the law faculty. We're celebrating, can you believe this, 100 years of women lawyers in South Africa. And I think it's a good time to maybe celebrate, but also reflect on this amazing milestone. And I thought I'd better invite a well-renowned, I would say, and also been in the industry, a seasoned attorney as well, Rehana Khan Parker. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And thank you, Hilaal TV, for having me here.
It's my
absolute
pleasure.
Wonderful to be in this room and in your lounge, wherever you are.
Absolutely. So we encourage our viewers to also correspond with us on the WhatsApp line. We're going to bring up that number shortly, where you can contribute. If you have any questions for Rehana, especially as well in studio, we'll do her very best to answer that. 079-085-2511. Rehana, the milestone that we now celebrating, 100 years of women being in the law faculty. Chat to us a little bit about that.
Yes, 100 years from having women lawyers in South Africa. Quite a history, quite a struggle if you reflect back on the 20th century. And it started in 1909 with Sonia Schlesien, who was the law clerk to none other than Mahatma Gandhi.
Wow.
And she sought admission to the profession, and of course the judge at that time had found that women were not persons in the eyes of the law. Can you believe it? Yeah. Not only was she refused admission to the profession, she also had to pay the legal costs of the Law Society.
Wow.
Shortly after that, though, so it didn't end there. She, and if anyone had read the history of Mahatma Gandhi and his law firm and Sonia Schlesien, you will see that she was a remarkable woman.
Right.
She was obviously influenced by what was happening throughout the world, and of course by the great Mahatma as well. And then shortly after her, in 1912, we have another woman who challenges the system.
Right.
And she was Madeleine Wookie. And similarly, same problem as experienced by Sonia Schlesien. No, you're going against nature. That's what the judge had said. It's radical. A woman's place is at home. Her innate nature is to be a mother and a caregiver. That was another blow. However, it wasn't long after that. Well, it was long. I would say in 1923, eventually, when His Royal Highness, because of course, as we all know, we were under colonial powers at that point in time, promulgated an act, the Legal Practitioners Act number 7 of 1923. That act was promulgated on the 10th of April. So on this 10th of April, of course, 2023, it is our centennial celebrations of these amazing and sort of challenges and struggles that women had to go through. Of importance, Luqmaan, is that it's not only South Africa at that point in time who had the same act.
Right.
Because we were all governed by Britain, the great British Empire at that point in time, so was India. And of course, at that stage, India and Pakistan was one country.
Correct.
So when we celebrate 100 years of women in law, the same act was mirrored in India. And then, of course, with the division of India and Pakistan, you have 3 countries in the world celebrating 100 years of women in law.
That is absolutely amazing. And we've come full circle with a king as well.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
100 years later, now we have a king in power in the UK.
Yes. And then coming back, after that, of course, then you saw, there wasn't a proliferation. I think there was probably the way the culture was at that point in time. Women didn't rush in to become lawyers.
Right.
But there were women that came through. Geffen, you all know the surname Geffen, Hall, and others then came through. However, what is important is that the first woman judge appointed in that entire period up to 1994, there was only one. Justice Leonora van der Heever here in the Western Cape. She was then followed, shortly after that, she was followed by Judge Jeanette Traverso in 1994. So in that entire period, from 1923, if you look at the pinnacle of a career for anybody in the legal industry, we only had 2 women.
Amazing.
So let's reflect back on the first woman of color. I think
Right.
that's important to share.
Absolutely. And I would imagine during this period as well of the 100 years and you being in the profession that you've also, maybe met some remarkable women and maybe aspired to be like some of them that have paved the way for others to follow as well. Who do you hold in high regard?
I think I have never met Sissy Gould.
Okay.
But Sissy Gould was associated with my father because they were both in council. But I needed to reflect on her because I think it's important to share that the first woman of color was Zainunisa Sissy Gould.
Okay, I always drive past the road and I always wondered, who is Sissy Gould?
Absolutely,
now I do know.
There's a Sissy Gould Foundation, there's a Sissy Gould house as well.
Yeah.
Yes, and remember she was also the very first woman of color to obtain a master's at UCT.
Oh, wow.
So she was quite a woman, a very, very political, active woman, like her father and like her mother.
Right.
An amazing history. She then became admitted to the bar in 1962.
Okay.
And we were told when we celebrated in the Western Cape High Court now on the 12th of April, 2023, we had Justice Albie Sachs there.
Oh.
And he wanted to be a speaker because he was associated with the late Sissy Gould. And he had said that when she came to the bar, they didn't quite know how to deal with her.
I can
because
imagine.
she was the first woman of color. And she was outspoken. And he was overjoyed to be able to come and celebrate the 100th year with us. We all know she didn't live very long thereafter.
Yeah.
However, following her, in 1967, we see the first African woman, Desiree Fika. Okay. And so Desiree Fika becomes the first African woman to go into practice. And there again, when she had to appear in a magistrate's court, the magistrate questioned whether African women were allowed to practice. He then apologized to her afterwards, after he had clarified that, yes, she is allowed to practice. So these are the kind of tensions that we had. In 1994, that's the year that you actually saw all the changes.
I see.
From 1994, you have Justice Navi Pillay.
Okay. Yes.
Bridget Mabundla, Mailula, and so many others. Ivan Mkhoro, Justice Shanaz Mir of the Land Claims Court, and many, many others then came through. So the amazing and the most strides that happened between 1994 and today.
Brilliant.
So if you're going to ask me what's the figure for the judiciary at the moment, it's only at 42%. So we've got some work to do there.
No, obviously. Apart from some of the challenges that you alluded to as well, why is it so important to celebrate this 100 years?
First of all, we have a problem in South Africa in the sense that we have most of the graduates at our universities in the law faculty are women. More than 50% of them are women. And many of them who then obtain a candidate of clerkship, it's the internship, we call it the candidate attorney, the figure currently sits at 59%. However, we lose them somewhere along the way. So that if you're reflecting on the top highest positions in the country, whether it's leadership positions, whether it's at board level, whether it's at director level of a law firm, or whether it is in the judiciary, you will note that figure dwindles very fast. So it's very important to celebrate the 100th year of the achievements of women in law, especially to impart to people, to society, the private sector, the government sector as well, why we need diversity and inclusion in law.
Absolutely.
Why do we need women in law? We just don't need them there to tick a box. We need them there so that they can be the agents of change.
Of course.
And we're in a country where sexual harassment, gender-based violence is astonishingly high.
Yeah.
So if you have a role model, or if you have a mentor, or a leader that's a woman in that field or in that position, it says a lot with regard to how she would then mete out justice.
I think that's a brilliant point. We're chatting to Rehana Khan Parker on the absolute milestone of celebrating 100 years of women being allowed into our law faculty in South Africa, not just in South Africa, in Pakistan, in India as well, we've just heard. We're going to take a short break. When we come back after the break, we chat a bit more. And if you'd like to send us a WhatsApp, you're more than welcome to do so on our WhatsApp line. And maybe you're thinking about getting into the industry as well, and Rehana can maybe give you some good advice as well. You are tuned in to Hilaal Live.